Oh, here we go. Advance.
Is
Ooh,
that big
cool.
enough? We go. Well,
yeah, I like that. Using the old Excel. I love Excel.
Well, it means you can change it around. If I created an image, I just want to
That's
check.
pretty
Right,
cool.
cool.
I like how you've made
screens.
that on the.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right.
All right. So, can you see it? Have I still got you there?
Yeah, I can see it. I'm just so the top part for our audio listeners. Top part is the offense, and we won't forget about your audio guys. And the bottom part is the defense. I like it, man. It's really run down. I like it.
Yeah. So I don't want to have to swivel. You know, like the problem is when you start using a taskbar and you got to like swivel between them two. Plus, I always like a depth chart. I like a horizontal depth chart. So if you're on the audio side, you can visualize this horizontal by position, and then you go down vertically rather than what the Steelers do on their website, which is they go down vertically and go horizontal. I find that really annoying. I like this. And I like having offense and defense right there next to each other when you team build. This is when I get really deep in my Madden franchises. This is how I do it.
Well, technically, what is a depth chart? You know, from top to bottom.
Correct.
You know, whereas the other way goes left to right. And I like it, man. It's cool.
All right, I also always put because of the positions. Always just put and I also think they're more defense related. As odd as this is going to sound, even with a kicker. But I always put special teams defense just because I think it makes it. Now, what's different about my depth chart? For those people on the audio side, is I break out I slot cornerback because I do believe I'm of that of the school of thought that Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks have now around the slot corner, and a lot of teams have had this for a while. Slot corner is a kind of a different position, or certain players can play there, other cornerbacks can't. And same thing with wide receiver. I call it a WR3 or a slot receiver. So in some teams where the slot isn't necessarily as important for their offensive scheme, you might just have a wide receiver number 3. I believe in a slot wide receiver. I think that's important. That's why I break it out. Now, for those on the visual side, you might be looking at right now and you see 3 names in orange. You see some red gaps. You see Percy Harvin in yellow. Percy Harvin's in yellow because I think they should bring in a punter at some point in this offseason to challenge him. I'm not sold on him. You see red where we've got gaps. Now, that is a potential third cornerback / slot cornerback, although Arthur Morlett's my starter there right now. You see a red with wide receiver 3 or slot, which I think is a big issue that I want to talk to you about, Mark. Red starting defensive tackle. To me, Montravius Adams is a great or decent number 2, great number 3, not a number 1. And then you see some orange names, which are guys that are on the roster right now with depth that could be traded or cut, or I don't think will be there. Now, the key thing to factor into this roster, there's going to be some smart people out there in Steelerland that say, Matt, you've got 47 players on your right now in these positions, and the Steelers have got way more players on the website. Fine. This is trying to be as realistic as possible in terms of players that would actually make the 53 and that would start, and then who would be the depth pieces. I don't care about someone Bradley safety guy that's there. I don't care about a 4-year vet at tight end who I'd never heard of until I went on the Steelers website. That doesn't matter.
Hey, Matty. Dale Loy would say, "Where's Pierre?"
That's it. Pierre's under contract.
Dale Loy's going to run past us and go, "What a minute! 29 minutes in. Where's Pierre? He's signed." You're wrong, Dale. Lolly legs, Lolly. Lale.
So I don't know where you want to start, Marky D.
Boy.
But the first thing I thought would be good to start with, and I actually I've got to fix the spelling on Siumalu, because I sometimes I struggle on the vowels with some of those names. But the first thing I want to pick up on, Mark and I didn't do a reaction video on this channel to Siumalu. It kind of the way at Siumalu, sorry, it happened in a bit of a weird time for us in Australia. He is not the right guard for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He will play left guard.
Controversial.
Likewise, I don't believe that Nate Herbig will play left guard. I think he'll play right guard. Now, you ask me why? Snaps. Nate Herbig, 1,648 career snaps at right guard, 377 at left guard. He can play both, but he's playing right. To me, he's the depth piece of right guard. I don't think they're moving Daniels either. Daniels and Okorafor, they've got too much money invested in Okorafor. They want that side just to stay the same, have some consistency. Now, Siumalu, I'm going to get that right. Left guard, he's played 2,686 snaps.
2,000? That's amazing.
At right guard, he's played 1,272. Now, yes, I know these guys are versatile, but I'm not disrupting James Daniels. The other thing you got to remember too is Kevin Dotson, this is his last year of his contract.
Yep.
To me, now they've got Siumalu. I would trade Dotson for a third-round pick, fourth-round pick any day of the week, right? Mm-hmm. I've been saying that for 5 months, right? It's not the first time I've said that. Like, and then Kendrick Green, everyone's like, oh yeah, obviously he's going to be cut. Like, he's still to me, I prefer Kendrick Green, and not just because I tipped him to go to the Steelers. I prefer him than bringing back J.C. Hassenauer, even just for the money. I think that's a good deal. The guy's still started. Do I think that he's a long-term answer to anything? Absolutely not. But who knows? And if he could actually bother to decide that he wants to be a center and care about it more and prove that he can learn how to snap the football, maybe he's got a future. But the other thing that I thought was interesting is I warned back to when Siumalu was drafted. Some things that a lot of Steeler fans and other podcasts out there and even the national networks are not talking about. A couple of things I wanted to highlight off. One, he's got the mongrel in him. His dad was a defensive coach at Oregon State. Yeah, you might have heard that. 2, Siumalu pulls, right? Now, we talk about guards and pulling, and we talk and centers and pulling. We think about Pouncey. We think about the Steeler greats on the O-line, what they've done in being pulling. When he came out of college and he was drafted, that was one of the number one things that they talked about with him is that the fact that he can be pulled in the run game, right? That is huge for this team because we all thought we'd get that athleticism out of Kendrick Green. We didn't get it. I didn't see that from Mason Cole. Maybe it's just the tape that I watched, but I didn't see that from Mason Cole last year. I haven't seen it since Pouncey. This guy does that, right? So I love that about him. The other thing that I saw about him is really that the sort of the fact that he is kind of unflappable, and that when he came into the league, most players thought he was going to be there was a big most teams sort of actually projected him to center. So we know Mason Cole's, I think, in the second year of a 3-year deal this year. Mm-hmm. If Cole gets injured or Cole doesn't work out there, I think rather than moving Daniels to center, which kind of made sense before he came to the Steelers, I think Siumalu could be that depth piece there. So I really like this. Now, the reason why I bring that center bit up is at 32, there might be a guy like Osiris Torrance out of Florida, right, who's available. The Steelers may still upgrade the interior O-line. Now, obviously, most people now are going to focus on Dan Moore Jr., and I've obviously talked about him since he was drafted. Maybe he goes into the guard position. I know our friend KT Smith at Steel Curtain Network has said the same thing. But Dan Moore Jr. is a depth piece on this team. Right now, he's a starter. If they go into the season with that starting O-line that I've got on the screen right now, of Dan Moore Jr., Siumalu, Mason Cole, James Daniels, Okorafor, I'm fine with that, Mark. What are your thoughts when you see it on paper like that?
Well, I did see a lot of Steeler talk about Siumalu going over Daniels, and I was like, because he was a right guard, and you know what I'm saying? I just didn't understand.
Such a bad take.
Yeah, but I've seen it a million times on the internet.
Do you know the thing is, I keep hearing he was in the Super Bowl. Joe Haig was in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I know. The Buccaneers, how'd that go for the Steelers?
Even for me, that I don't really know who the player is, but of course I watch football. I'm saying you go the weakest link would probably be take over Dotson. Of course, Dotson has 1 more year in his contract. It makes more sense to put him there at left guard. And Daniels is a great player. I want to have 2 good left guard and right guard together, not take over someone, because then where do you put Daniels? I've also seen ideas that they said that they want to put Daniels at center, right? And people are changing everything. I'll put Siumalu at right guard, Daniels at center, and then put in Herbig at left guard, and really mix everything around, and then go and draft a guy at left tackle, right? So I don't know. I don't overly know. But like for me, I think there are a few things that I think are going to be standing there straight away. Like they're not going to change. Daniels, I don't think will change. A call for all, I don't think will change. And I think Cole will be there at center as well. That's what I kind of predict those three. It depends what the other side's going to do with the left guard and left tackle. That's really my only issue going forward. But you're paying a guy that much money, and CM Marlowe, I'm getting better at his name. You pay him that much money, he's got to start somewhere, right? He has to start somewhere. He's getting paid that much money in a 3-year deal. So it all depends what do you do with Dotson. I have heard the ideas too where you then go and trade Dotson because in the last year go and get something for him. That might happen. But then if like he's happy to be backup, that's not bad either. You know,
the reason why I think you trade him as well, when I look at this right now, they need 2 tackles in this draft, even as depth pieces, even if you don't get a starter over Dan Moore.
Yeah,
like
true.
Right now, I'm a bit worried about the tackle depth. I would say that's a concern for me. And I don't necessarily think bringing a free agent. Are you really going to find a free agent tackle for under 5 million, even like under 3 million, but certainly even under 5 million a year that is going to make this team better? I don't think so. Right. So that's a problem in my mind. But there are 3 big red gaps in this. One on offense at wide receiver 3 or the slot wide receiver. Now, a lot of people say Anthony Miller and Calvin Austin can fill in the slot. Yes, right. But then I'm still talking about a wide receiver number 3. We talked a little about defensive tackle there a little bit earlier around the draft. So I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to cover there. And then there's strong safety, which everything Steel fans just kind of, I think, mostly just saying, let's bring back to relevance. But especially now with Gardner Johnson, you know, off the free agent board, so to speak. Well, why don't we finish up on the offense? I'll give you my opinion, and then you can react to it, Mark.
Yep.
It's less about the slot so much for me because of what Freemuth can do. And I would also say there's not much depth here at tight end. I've actually put Hayward at fullback if they don't find a deal for Derek Watt because I
you
think
did too.
that's
I didn't even notice that. You did too, yeah.
Because I think he's like a hybrid, and I think that's fine for the Steelers. And if you get a big blocking tight end, you can use him in fullback sets. That's a bit more technicality for me. And they'll be able to cheap fullbacks around the league. But just because of another offense, and you can react to it, I think that Anthony Miller, and until we see Calvin Austin in a jersey on the field playing, not in the preseason in the NFL, it's hard for me to think he's anything more than a 4th wide receiver. Same thing with Anthony Miller. I do think the Steelers are going to have to figure out what they do for a 3rd wide receiver, because if George Pickens and Deontay Johnson go down right now, even with what Freemuth do, what Hayward does off Connor Hayward does off a few special plays, and what Najee Harris can do, I'm a little bit concerned about the wide receiver team. This could be an Achilles heel.
Well, it's unproven, right? Because we haven't seen anything from Anthony Miller in a few years' time because he got injured, and also it's unproven for Austin because we haven't seen him either. But I'm pretty keen to see what they can do if they can become that 3rd guy. Or
I'm keen,
more involved.
but I do think this is a hole right now, and I think this is a bigger hole than Dan Moore Jr. at left tackle. And still fans are going nuts at me. Oh, Matt, Dan Moore Jr. didn't do this, and Dan Moore Jr. didn't do that. But like the chances of a wide receiver going down even for a couple of games is much larger. Like it could absolutely stifle this offense. It won't matter who's blocking for Kenny Pickett. It's just how I'm feeling today on the 20th of March.
It is interesting because what you're kind of saying is, well, they got Johnson Pickens there where they played last year, but we didn't see Miller play. We didn't see Austin play, even though it is exciting to see what they can do. But maybe they got to, I don't know, bring someone in, or even if you re-sign Steven Sims, is he really a number 3? He only caught the ball like 14 times last year.
He's a 4th or 5th, like
yeah, and he's a kick return guy too. So
the other thing too about this list, there's no Gunnar O because he's cut. Bye-bye,
Gunner's gone. Is he on? Is he still on the contract though now?
Yeah, he'll invoke a cap hit of like
okay.
a dead cap hit of like three. It was either 300 grand or 600 grand, and he saved you 2 million.
I think most people in Steeler minds will probably think that Calvin Austin will have a good training camp. He'll find himself into that receiver 3 slot role, and then Kenny will develop a good connection with him. That's what I hope we see, but we've got to wait till it pans out. But I'm actually pretty excited to see what Miller can do as well, because he was a pretty good receiver with the Bears, and then we got him, then he got injured. So both these blokes have been injured. But you are right. That's a real red. If we talk about the safety being a missing link there on the offensive side, who's behind DJ and who's behind Pickens? Because even some Steelers fans don't like DJ. So really, we just got one massive receiver.
So that's exactly. So this is an answer they've got to solve still. Now flip to the defense. We've talked a lot about defensive tackle. I think that's there. You'll also see I don't have Jimmy Jones there because I think he's a practice squad player at best. I don't think he's a starter. I still believe in Quincy Roche. I just do. He's got starter experience now from the Giants. One thing that I haven't highlighted, but I do think is an issue, which is why I think Witherspoon's a chance of being retained, even though I think he could be a good cap. Like, if you could find something better, they'll cut him to save the cap, get something better. But really on this list on the defense is depth at outside linebacker, strong safety, which we've talked a little bit about, and slot corner too. As much as I like Arthur Mollett, I would like to see the Steelers upgrade that talent there just for how important slot corner is becoming in the game today. But the other thing that I want to point out, and people go, oh, we talked about this before too. Steelers got KZ. They don't need to sign Edmonds. Every safety on this list under under Minkah Fitzpatrick, and Miles Killebrew is a special teams player. He's not really playing strong safety for the Steelers. Like, they're all free safeties, these guys. And the Steelers don't play left and right safety. And even if they did, none of these guys are big guys. These guys are all less than, like, I think even Riley's only 198 pounds. KZ's like 177 pounds. Norwood's like 191 pounds. Like, none of those guys are playing strong safety. None of those guys are coming down and they're going to hit a Travis Kelce in the box or a Dawson Knox from the Bills. That's what we need out of strong safety. So to me, they got to get a starter in free agency, and they got to get a depth piece in the draft.
It's interesting too as well because I was pretty high on like Norwood, and this is his third year now, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And where do you think he's going to make the team this year? Because he didn't play too well last year.
Hey, look, he and Riley can have a really good fight, I think. I didn't think Riley was much chop, and then he did a little bit for the Steelers. So I think it's an interesting one. It's the secondary is still a bit of an issue for this team, right?
Yeah.
They're and this is what is going to be interesting in the draft. And I think I heard Jenna Hana and
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter, that's the one, talking about this on their show at the end of last week about where knowing where the Steelers are going to focus. The Steelers have kind of upgraded the offense as we see now. There's still some work to do on the defense. I think this is going to be we talk about the title of this show is going to have something related to trench warfare. I put a title on the top, but I don't know if it fits the YouTube character list as we record it. But I think this is going to be a very stock standard draft for the Steelers. I think this and by they're going to go defense, they're going to draft trench players, they're going to take value. I mean, there's Daniel Markins, there's 11 starters at tight end. I reckon, he's probably right. Maybe there's 9 worst case, like starters at tight end in this draft that won't even go in the first or second round. Like, not all of them. So all I'm saying is I think Steel fans are going to walk out of the draft feeling pretty cranky. But like they did last year, like they might have been in free agency, like the first day. And then you know what? When the team goes 11-6 or 10-7 in the playoffs and wins a playoff game, you'll sit there and go, hey, you know what? This team did a pretty good job. I
got a question for you. Do you think that it's possible to fill all these needs? You have all the red squares there. Is it in a team sense, is it possible to fill every single need and be like, I'm talking like top tier, like A, like everyone to have an A minus or a B plus grade? Does the cap force you to have a weak area somewhere?
It does. No, that's a really good point. It does. I think if you look objectively across the offensive starters that we've got there right now, and you've got 2 wide receivers, right? So you've got enough guys. Mm-hmm. I would argue, even for Connor Hayward, for me, I would argue all these players are a B minus or above, right? Probably a B or above. Even people that hate Dan Moore Jr. and Okorafor, like they started games.
They play well near the ends. They play well near the ends.
I mean, Kenny Pickett, it wasn't like Kenny Pickett was, got sacked to the point he had a knee injury like Burrow did in his first year. What the defense? Yeah, in key spots, they've got some anywhere between, B pluses right through to A pluses. But they got 2 major holes in the middle of the defense right now and in the secondary as well. Like, their ability to stop the run next year in short passing game is a little bit of a concern. And if they have one injury in the cornerback room between Wallace and Peterson, and Wallace is, I think, 28 or 29 this year. I think he's 29. Peterson's 32, obviously. What does that mean? Like, so do I think these needs can be filled in the rest of this first wave of free agency and the second wave? Probably. I think we can get closer. I do think, though, that the Steelers, some of the moves they've made in free agency now allow them to be a bit more BPA focused in the draft and mesh BPA with the team needs. But I just don't think the Steelers aren't going to walk away with like Jordan Addison at 17 and Deontay Banks at 32 and like, some like, another key player like a Will McDonald IV in round 3. And everyone's going to go, yeah, they got all the big name favorites. Steelers going to get guys that other people are like, oh, who's that?
Who? That's me. That's what I say. But I don't care.
And you're going to be poking the logo saying the Steelers didn't do anything in the draft.
Hey, man, I think they've really done well so far, and I like how you've identified the key points because you are right. The receiver there and the safety and stuff like that, and defensive tackle. There are key holes there for sure. Even though it's been a pretty fun week of the free agent period, but that's why I asked you that question. I'm like, can we have maybe a B- team overall? But in some cases, you are going to get some weak links over the team. But I would like.
But the thing is it's also like, if you got an A+, can your A+ elevate the play of your C+, right? Or can your A player elevate the level of your anything B or below? That's what's got to happen. As I said, like, let's if I'm asking one thing in the next 24 to 48 hours after this goes to air, and maybe it will wake up and this show will just have gone live and then we'll have announced it. It will happen at like 2 a.m. in the morning for you and I. Is that Terrell Edmonds has signed like a 3-year deal, 2 or 3 year deal, and then that changes the game again. But that is a massive concern for me. I think defensive tackle today and to the draft, I think that's fine. You could even trade Dotson for some defensive tackles in this league for a win now team, a team that needs an upgrade at the guard position. But like the strong safety piece in the way this Pittsburgh Steelers play defense it is a concern for me right now.
If that does happen, I've got it covered. Breaking news, guys. Breaking Pittsburgh Steelers news. Terrell Edmonds signed a 3-year deal to the black and gold. Covered.
16 million.
Yeah.
16 million, 6 guaranteed. There you go.
But if you fast forward all the way to this point right now, for some reason you just heard that, then is it true? I don't know. Maybe it's true. But yeah, breaking news. Edmonds signs a massive deal and stays with Minka. You heard it here first.
But with that, we're going to wrap up this week's Steelers Touchdown to Mad Monday. Mad Monday. Hopefully it's another Mad Monday for the Steelers in terms of this free agency. It's certainly been a free agency frenzy. And Mark, as always,
go Steelers. Here we go.